Alright guys, it just got real. 9-5, factoring trinomials of the type x squared plus bx plus c. These are the easier ones, I know, but these are the easy ones. These are the ones you want to definitely master. The ones that we're looking at 9-6 are going to be a little bit more challenging, but we will persevere and we will overcome because you guys can do this. People have been doing this for years and years and centuries even. So I have faith in you. And yes, it will be difficult, but learning to ride your bike was difficult. Learning to walk was difficult. Everything we do when we're learning it the first time isn't always the easiest, okay? Unless you happen to just get really lucky. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip the first slide and go to example 1. And we are going to skip the textbook example and just go straight to this one. All right. Now, how can we get x squared? We can only get x squared from x times x. Now, how can we get 15? We can either do 1 times 15 or we can do 3 times 5. Well, we want to use whichever terms will give us the sum of the middle number. Okay, so x squared plus 8x plus 15. So x squared is going to have to be x and x, writing as two binomials. Now this is either going to be 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. Which two will add up to 8x? The 3 and 5. Now, this one is an easy one because this one has all positives. So you know both of those are positive. To double check, you would actually FOIL. Okay, so I'm going to do this off to the side, and I am going to do it relatively quickly. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. 3 times x is 3x. And 3 times 5 is 15. 5x plus 3x is 8x, which is what we wanted. This matches the original, so we are good. Now, let's say for devil's advocate's sake that we had done x plus 1 times x plus 15. Well, x times x is x squared, and that works. 1 times 15 is 15, so that works. But let's do the outside. X times 15 is 15x. And let's do the inside. 1 times x. 15x plus 1x is going to give you 16x. So we have x squared plus 16x plus 15. Does this match that? No. So the answer cannot, under any circumstances, be this answer. Okay? This is the only answer, the only way we can factor that down. Okay, let's go ahead and complicate things a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to be looking at what happens if my last term is positive, right, like this one. Okay, it's positive, so I know I have to have the same signs, but this one is negative. So how can I get a positive here but a negative there? 2 negatives, you are correct. Okay, so that means what if the last term is positive, then same signs, and more specifically, it matches the middle term. Okay, all right, so now looking up here, c squared, the only way we can get c squared is c times c. Now 20, we've got 1 times 20, we have 2 times 10, and we have 4 times 5. What is the only way, the only pair that would give us a negative 9 if we added the negatives together? 1 and 20 would give us 21. That doesn't work. 2 and 10 would give you 12. That doesn't work. 4 and 5 is 9. There you go. So we're going to have C, C, and then since they both have to be negative, it would be -4, -5. Now this is the exact same as this. It doesn't matter the order as long as you have those terms, okay? C minus 4 times C minus 5, C minus 5 times C minus 4. 5 times 2 is the same as 2 times 5, okay? All right, now let's look at example 3. All right, great. Now we've had example 1 and 2. The last term has both been positive, which means we have the same sign. So great. Now what happens when we have a negative? Well, we know one has to be positive, one has to be negative. That's the only way we can get a negative third term. So we look at this sign. All right, this one tells me that the larger factor has to be positive. This one tells me the larger factor is negative, right? So if your last term is negative, then you know you're going to have two different signs, and the larger factor will have the same sign as the middle term, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do A. We have x squared plus 13x minus 48. So x squared, we know, will end up being x times x, because that's the only way we can get x squared. 48, negative 48 to be more specific, and we know the larger factor is positive. Okay, I know 12 and 4, but 12 minus 4, that would give me 8, so that doesn't work. Let's see, 6 and 8. And 8 would have to be positive, the 6 would have to be negative. That would give me 2, so that doesn't work. There's 24 and 2. That would give us 22. So we know it's somewhere between 24, 2, and 12, 4. Okay, well, 2 and 4, there's 3. So 3 times what? 16. 16 times negative 3 is 48. 16 minus 3 is 13. Bingo, that's what we wanted. Now, when you put these into your binomials, you have to put the same sign that you have there. So that would be plus 16 minus 3. Now, it could be x minus 3, x plus 16, but just make sure you keep the sign with that term. Otherwise, you will change this, and that will not be correct. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. We have n squared minus 5n minus 24. All right, so we know it's going to be n and n, because that's our variable, and that's the only way we can get n squared. 24, let's see, negative 24 to be more specific. I think of 6 and 4, and in this case, the larger factor is negative. So negative 6 and 4 will give us negative 2. That won't work. Next one I think of is 8 and 3. Negative 8, positive 3 gives us negative 5. That's what we wanted. So we have negative 8 and positive 3. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing this is, to some degree, kind of guess and check. You have to know your multiplication tables. You have to practice those. So if that is something you are not strong in, practice them. There is no shame. But you need to practice them so that you can be successful with everything else that comes after the fact, right? Okay, let's take a look at example 4. Factoring trinomials with 2 variables. Yay! It's really not as hard as it sounds, I promise. Let's see. Now, basically with this one, you have a d squared and you have a g squared. So you know when you're all said and done, you're going to have a d times d, because d squared, and g squared, you're going to have a g and a g here. Okay? Now, this tells you negative, so that's going to be positive and a negative. And this is positive, so the larger factor is positive. So now look at 60. Factors of 60. Well, I know 12 times 5, but remember those are different signs, so that would give me 7, so that won't work. 20 times 3, positive 20, negative 3. That gives me negative 60, and that also gives me 17. That's what we need. So plus 20 minus 3. And this would be your answer. Okay? Good stuff. See, that didn't mess things up. You just want to make sure that you write it down, record it. Okay? All right, and then finally, oh, that was the last one. I was thinking there was one more after him. Nope, guess not. Okay, so that wraps this up, and please practice. You will get wonderful at these, but you have to practice. You will be using it in Algebra 2 and Pre-Calc. This is something that you will use extensively after Algebra 1, and not with geometry so much because that's a different beast, but anyway. Okay,